The hammer slipped from Emma's blistered hands for the third time that morning, clattering down the weathered shingles before disappearing into the tall grass below. She pressed her forehead against the hot wooden planks, fighting back tears that had nothing to do with the blazing Montana sun. 3 days since the storm had torn half her roof away. 3 days of sleeping under a canvas tarp that leaked with every midnight shower. 3 days of knowing she couldn't do this alone, but having no choice but to try. Her fingers trembled as she reached for another salvage tile, the rough clay edge cutting into her palm. Below, the small homestead her husband had built before the fever took him stood silent. The chicken coop empty after she'd sold the last hen for flour, the vegetable garden withering without time to tend it. At 24, Emma Hayes had become a widow, a failure, and now, apparently, a terrible roofer. Before we continue with Emma's story, I'd love to ask you to take a moment to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Your support truly matters and motivates us to bring you more quality stories like this one. Also, I'm curious, where are you listening from today? Please let me know in the comments. She was fixing her roof, tile by tile, each piece a small victory against the creeping despair, when she heard the horse. Emma's head snapped up, instinctively reaching for the rifle that wasn't there. She'd pawned it last month. Her heart hammered as a rider emerged from the cottonwood grove, silhouetted against the afternoon glare. The man sat tall in his saddle, broad-shouldered beneath a dust-stained shirt, his face shadowed by a wide-brimmed hat. He reined in his bay gelding at the edge of her property, and for a long moment, neither of them moved. Emma became acutely aware of her appearance, dress torn and filthy, hair escaping its braid in wild tangles, perched precariously on a roof she had no business being on. "Ma'am," he called up, his voice carrying a rough timbre that somehow sounded gentle. "That roof's gonna kill you before you get it fixed. Then I'll die with a roof over my head instead of rain in my face," Emma shot back, surprised by her own defiance. "If you're here to tell me I'm doing it wrong, save your breath and ride on." The stranger dismounted with easy grace, looping his reins over her broken fence post. As he stepped into full sunlight, Emma caught her first clear look at him, somewhere in his early 30s, with sun-weathered skin and eyes the color of creek water after a storm. A jagged scar ran from his left temple to his jaw, but it was the expression on his face that made her pause. Not pity, not judgment, something closer to recognition. "Name's Cole Brennan," he said, pushing his hat back. "I own the Triple B Ranch about 5 miles west." "Been riding fence lines and saw your place. Looks like the same storm that hit me hit you worse." "I'm managing," Emma said, hating how defensive she sounded. "I can see that." Cole's gaze traveled over the roof, then to the sagging barn, the empty corral. "How long you been managing alone?" 6 months. The words came out sharper than she intended. "My husband, Thomas, died of the fever last spring, and before you offer me charity or Christian sympathy, I don't need either. I just need people to leave me be so I can work." Cole was quiet for a moment, studying her with an intensity that made Emma want to climb down and hide inside. But she held her ground on that roof, hammer gripped tight, waiting for him to ride away like everyone else eventually did. "You eat today?" he asked instead. The question was so unexpected that Emma's carefully constructed walls cracked. Her stomach answered before she could, growling loudly enough that Cole's mouth twitched toward a smile. "I have cornmeal," she said, lifting her chin. "I'm fine. Cornmeal and pride don't build roofs." Cole moved closer, standing directly below her now. "I've got a proposition if you'll hear it. I need someone who can cook, mend, and keep a house. You need that roof fixed, winter supplies put up, and if I'm guessing right, about 100 other things held together with hope and stubbornness. You work for me through harvest season, 3 months, and I'll make sure your place is sound before first snow." Emma's heart leaped and sank simultaneously. "I won't be anyone's kept woman. I've heard about arrangements like that." Cole's expression hardened. I'm offering you honest work for honest pay, Mrs. Hayes. My ranch house hasn't had a proper meal or clean corner since my wife died 2 years back. I've got 3 ranch hands who eat like wolves and live like bears. You'd have your own room, lock on the door, and my word as a man that you'd be respected." He paused, then added quietly, "I know what it's like to lose everything and try to hold it together alone. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a trade that benefits us both." The sincerity in his voice did something dangerous to Emma's resolve. She looked down at her bleeding hands, at the roof that would take weeks to finish alone, at the reality she'd been avoiding. Winter was coming. She had no money, no food stores, no strength left to pretend she could survive on determination alone. "I keep my late husband's wedding ring," she said finally. "It's all I have left of value, but if you need security for the arrangement—" "Keep your ring." Cole's voice was firm. "Gold isn't what we need here. You are. Your skills, your work, that's the trade. Nothing more." Something in Emma's chest loosened at those words. She descended the ladder carefully, her legs shaking from more than just physical exertion. Up close, Cole was even more imposing, easily 6 inches taller than her 5'6" frame, with calloused hands that spoke of hard work and shoulders broad enough to carry burdens. But his eyes were kind, tired in a way she understood too well. 3 months, she agreed, extending her hand. "But I fix my own roof on my days off." Cole's grip was warm and steady. Wouldn't expect anything less. The Triple B Ranch sprawled across a valley so green it hurt Emma's eyes after weeks of staring at her own dusty plot. The main house was larger than she'd expected. 2 stories of weathered pine, with a wraparound porch and windows that desperately needed washing. The barn and outbuildings looked solid, well-maintained, but the house itself wore the unmistakable air of masculine neglect. Cole helped her down from his horse. She'd left hers behind, the old mare too weak for the journey. And she tried not to notice how his hands lingered at her waist, steadying her. "3 hands," he said, gesturing toward the barn where men were visible working. "Jack, Miguel, and Tommy. Good men, but rough around the edges. They know you're here as my housekeeper. Anyone gives you trouble, you come to me directly." Emma nodded, following him inside. The house was even worse than she'd imagined. Dishes piled high, dust coating every surface, and a smell suggesting something had died in the kitchen recently. But it was structurally sound, warm, and most importantly, not her responsibility to save alone. "Your room." Cole opened a door off the main hallway. Inside was a simple space with a bed, dresser, and window overlooking the eastern pastures. True to his word, there was a lock on the inside of the door. Supper's usually at 6, breakfast at dawn. Whatever you need for cooking or supplies, you write it down and I'll get it in town. "I'll earn this," Emma said quietly. "Every bit of it." Cole turned in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "I know you will, Emma. That's why I asked." The first week passed in a blur of scrubbing, cooking, and trying to remember how to live around people again. The ranch hands were initially suspicious. Tommy, barely 20, watched her with open curiosity. Miguel, middle-aged and weathered, offered polite nods, and Jack, whose gray beard and missing teeth suggested hard years, mostly grunted. But after the first real meal she cooked, venison stew with biscuits and apple cobbler from dried fruit, their attitudes shifted to something approaching reverence. Cole remained an enigma. He rose before dawn, worked until dark, and spoke in economical sentences that revealed little about the man beneath the weathered exterior. But Emma noticed things. The way he always served himself last at meals, how he checked the lock on her door each night without comment, ensuring her safety. The wildflowers that appeared on the kitchen table one morning, clearly picked by rough hands unused to gentle gestures. "You don't have to do that," Emma said when she found him replacing a warped floorboard in her room during her second week. Cole looked up, hammer paused mid-swing. "House needs maintenance. Just doing my job." "This isn't your job. I can sleep with an uneven floor." Can't have my housekeeper breaking an ankle in a hole I knew about. But there was something in his eyes that suggested his concern went deeper than practical necessity. Emma knelt beside him, studying the careful way he fitted the new board. "You're lonely." The hammer slipped, nearly catching his thumb. Cole's jaw tightened. "We all got our burdens." "Your wife," Emma pressed gently. "What was her name?" For a long moment, she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, so quietly she almost missed it. "Sarah. She died birthing our daughter. The baby only lived 3 days." He drove the nail home with more force than necessary. 2 years ago this November. Some days it feels like yesterday. Other days, I can barely remember her face. Don't know which is worse. Emma's hand found his shoulder without conscious thought. "Thomas used to make me laugh at everything. After he died, I forgot how laughter sounded. Then one day I heard myself chuckle at something. Can't even remember what. And I felt so guilty, I cried for an hour." Cole's hand covered hers, rough palm against her knuckles. "It's not betraying them to keep living." "Then why do we both feel like we're betraying them by not dying too?" The question hung between them, raw and honest. Cole's fingers tightened around hers, and Emma felt something shift. A recognition of shared pain, shared survival, shared loneliness, that maybe didn't have to be carried alone anymore. "I should finish this floor," Cole said, but he didn't move. "I should start supper," Emma replied. But she didn't either. They stayed like that, hands connected, until Tommy's voice calling for Cole broke the moment. But as Emma stood and left the room, she felt the warmth of his touch, lingering like a promise neither of them was ready to speak aloud. The days shortened as summer aged toward autumn, and Emma fell into rhythms she hadn't known she needed. Morning coffee on the porch with Cole, both silent as they watched the sun paint the mountains gold. Teaching Tommy how to mend his own shirts after he shredded the third one on barbed wire. Learning to ride properly from Miguel, who had infinite patience for her city-bred clumsiness. Even Jack warmed to her, offering gruff advice on preserving vegetables for winter. But it was Cole who occupied her thoughts more than she cared to admit. She learned to read his moods, the way he rubbed his scarred jaw when troubled, how his shoulders tensed before storms, the rare full smile that transformed his weathered face into something boyishly handsome. She noticed how he always positioned himself between her and potential danger, whether that was a spooked horse or a rattlesnake in the yard. 6 weeks into her employment, Emma was hanging laundry when she heard shouting from the barn. She dropped the wet sheet and ran, her heart in her throat. Inside, she found Cole pinning a stranger against the wall, his forearm across the man's throat. "You come near her again," Cole growled, "and you'll leave here in a box instead of a saddle." "I was just being friendly," the stranger choked out. He was younger than Cole, dressed too fine for ranch work, with mean eyes and a smirk that made Emma's skin crawl. "Your friendly looks like assault from where I stand, Carson." Cole's voice was deadly calm. "Emma, did this man touch you?" She wanted to say no, to defuse the situation, but honesty won. "He grabbed my arm when I told him the ranch wasn't hiring, said maybe he could convince me to reconsider the arrangement." Cole's fist connected with Carson's jaw before Emma could blink. The stranger crumpled, and Cole hauled him up by his collar. "Get on your horse. Spread the word in town. Any man who disrespects Mrs. Hayes answers to me personally. Clear?" Carson spat blood and nodded, stumbling toward the door. When he was gone, Cole turned to Emma, fury still burning in his eyes. "Did he hurt you?" "Just scared me." Emma rubbed her arm where bruises were already forming. "I've handled worse." "You shouldn't have to handle any of it." Cole crossed to her, his hands hovering near her shoulders, but not quite touching. "I promised you'd be safe here. I meant it." "I know." Emma looked up at him, seeing past the anger to the fear beneath. "You can't protect me from everything, Cole. The world's not that kind. Doesn't mean I won't try." His thumb brushed across the bruise on her arm so gently it made her breath catch. You're not property, you're a person. Anyone who forgets that will answer to me." The words wrapped around something fragile in Emma's chest. She'd spent so long believing she had to be strong alone that having someone stand beside her felt foreign and necessary all at once. "Cole," she whispered, "I see a man worth knowing, worth trusting. Thank you." His hand cupped her cheek, rough and warm. For a heartbeat, Emma thought he might kiss her. Instead, he stepped back, clearing his throat. "Should check on the fence line. Be back for supper." He left her standing in the barn, heart racing, finally understanding that what she felt wasn't gratitude or loneliness seeking comfort. It was something far more dangerous and infinitely more real. That night, a storm rolled in with mountain fury. Emma woke to thunder shaking the rafters and rain hammering against her window. She'd lived through enough western storms to know this was different, the kind that flooded creeks and spooked livestock into fatal stampedes. She dressed quickly and hurried downstairs, finding Cole already pulling on his coat. "Stay inside," he ordered. "Horses are loose. I've got to get them before they break legs in the dark." "You'll break your neck alone in this mess." "Not your concern." But his eyes betrayed him, softening at her worry. "Like hell it isn't." Emma grabbed her own coat. "I'm coming." "Emma, I can ride now, remember? Miguel taught me. You need hands. I've got two." She met his gaze levelly. "We do this together, or we waste time arguing." Something fierce and proud flashed across Cole's face. "Stubborn woman, stubborn man." She followed him into the deluge. The next 2 hours were chaos, mud slick beneath their boots, lightning illuminating panicked horses scattered across flooded pastures, wind threatening to tear them from their saddles. But Emma held her own, herding a pair of mares back toward the barn, while Cole and the hands corralled the rest. She was soaked to the bone, exhausted, and more alive than she'd felt in years. They were leading the last horse into the barn when Emma's mount reared. Spooked by lightning striking too close, she hit the ground hard, the breath knocked from her lungs, and through the ringing in her ears heard Cole shouting her name. "Emma! Jesus, Emma, talk to me!" He was on the ground beside her, hands running over her arms, her ribs, checking for broken bones with practiced efficiency. "Where does it hurt?" "Everywhere," she gasped, then managed a weak laugh. "But I'm alive, I think." "Don't you ever—" Cole pulled her against his chest, holding her so tight she felt his heart hammering. "Don't you ever scare me like that again." Emma clung to his soaked shirt, feeling the tremor in his hands. "I'm okay. We're okay." "No." Cole pulled back just enough to see her face, rain streaming between them. "We're not okay. I'm not okay. Because I can't stop thinking about you, can't stop needing to know you're safe. You're happy. You're here. And I swore I wouldn't do this again, wouldn't let myself care this much. But God help me, Emma, I'm failing." "Cole," her voice broke on his name. "I'm not asking for anything," he continued roughly. "Your 3 months are almost up. I'll keep my word about your homestead. But I need you to know you're not just my housekeeper. You're not just someone I'm helping. You're everything," Emma finished, her hand finding his scarred jaw. "You're everything to me too, and it terrifies me." "Then we'll be terrified together." Cole's forehead touched hers. "If you'll have me, if I'm not too broken, too haunted." She kissed him. It was clumsy and desperate, tasting of rain and fear and something achingly like hope. Cole froze for half a heartbeat before his arms wrapped around her, lifting her against him as he kissed her back with a hunger that matched her own. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Cole rested his forehead against hers. "I don't know how to do this again. How to open my heart after sealing it shut." "Go slow," Emma whispered. "We'll figure it out together, both of us. No more being alone. Together." Cole repeated the word like a vow. "I can do together." They stood in the barn doorway, holding each other as the storm raged outside. two damaged souls finding shelter in each other's arms. The weeks that followed were a revelation. Cole courted her properly, or his version of proper, which involved teaching her to shoot, taking her on rides to watch the sunset, and sitting on the porch each evening sharing stories of their pasts. He was patient with her moments of panic when intimacy moved too fast, never pushing, always watching her with those creekwater eyes that saw too much and judged too little. Emma learned to be vulnerable again, to accept help without seeing it as weakness, to laugh without guilt, to imagine a future that wasn't just survival, but actual happiness. "What do you want?" Cole asked one afternoon as they worked side by side in the garden she'd coaxed back to life. "After your 3 months are up, after I fixed your place, what then?" Emma sat back on her heels, wiping dirt from her hands. "Honestly, I don't want to go back. That homestead was Thomas's dream, not mine. I was just too stubborn to admit I was trying to honor a dead man's wishes instead of living my own life." Cole was quiet, pulling weeds with methodical focus. "You can stay here, not as my housekeeper, as—" He stopped, jaw working. "As what?" Emma prompted gently. "As my wife." The words came out rough, unpracticed. Cole finally looked at her, vulnerability naked in his expression. "I know it's fast. I know we're both scared. But I don't want to waste time being careful when I could be living. I love you, Emma. I want to build something with you, a real home. Maybe even—" His hand moved to her stomach, not quite touching. "A family, if you want that too." Tears blurred Emma's vision. "I want everything with you. The scary parts, the beautiful parts, all of it." "Is that a yes?" "That's a yes." She launched herself at him, and they tumbled into the garden soil together, laughing and kissing and planning. But happiness, Emma had learned, was never simple. The warning came from Jack 3 weeks before their planned wedding. A small ceremony at the ranch with just the hands and the circuit preacher. "Saw your brother-in-law in town," Jack said quietly to Emma. "Martin Hayes, asking questions about you." Emma's blood turned to ice. Martin, Thomas's older brother, the one who'd contested the will, who'd tried to claim her homestead as family property, who'd made it clear he considered her a gold digger who'd trapped his brother into marriage. She'd hoped he'd given up and moved on. "What kind of questions?" Cole's voice was dangerously calm. "About where you're living, whether you're employed or—" Jack shifted uncomfortably. "Keeping company with anyone." Said something about a widow's obligations to her late husband's family. "I have no obligations to that man," Emma said, but her voice shook. "Thomas left me the homestead free and clear. The will was legal. Law doesn't always matter to men like Martin." Cole's hand found hers. "What does he want?" "The land. It borders a plot he owns, and there's talk of the railroad coming through. Together, the properties would be worth a fortune." Emma swallowed hard. "He tried to force me to sell to him for nothing after Thomas died. When I refused, he made my life hell, turned townspeople against me, scared off anyone who might help. That's why I was alone when the storm hit my roof." Cole's expression went cold and hard. "He won't touch you. I don't care who he thinks he is." But Martin Hayes proved to be more dangerous than his threats. 2 days later, Emma was returning from town with supplies when 3 men blocked the road. Martin and 2 hired guns whose dead eyes promised violence. "Emma," Martin's smile was oil-slick charm. "Heard you've been playing house with Cole Brennan." How Thomas would weep to see his widow throwing herself at the first man to offer her a warm bed. "Get out of my way, Martin." "Can't do that. See, you and I have unfinished business. That land of yours, our land, by rights of family, needs to be settled. I've been patient, but my patience has limits. The land is mine. The law says so. The law also says a woman of questionable moral character isn't fit to own property." Martin's gaze raked over her. "And a widow shacking up with a rancher before her mourning year is up certainly qualifies as questionable." Sign the deed over to me, or I'll make sure everyone from here to Denver knows exactly what kind of woman you are." Rage flooded Emma, hot and cleansing. "You can tell anyone anything you want, Martin. I'm not ashamed of my life or my choices. Cole Brennan is twice the man your brother was, and 10 times the man you'll ever be. Now get out of my way before I ride you down." She spurred her horse forward, gambling that Martin wouldn't actually shoot her. She was right. He jumped aside, cursing as she galloped past. But his parting words chased her. "You'll regret this, Emma. That bastard you're spreading your legs for can't protect you forever." She made it back to the ranch before she started shaking. Cole took one look at her face and pulled her off the horse, holding her tight while she recounted everything. His fury was palpable, controlled violence barely leashed. "He threatened you on an open road." Cole's voice was quiet, deadly. "That's a mistake he won't make twice." "Don't do anything stupid," Emma pleaded. "He's not worth it." "Protecting you isn't stupid. It's the only thing that matters." Cole kissed her forehead. "Trust me, please." What Cole did next surprised everyone. Instead of confronting Martin directly, he rode to town and filed a formal complaint with the sheriff, documenting the harassment and threats. Then he visited the land office and had Emma's deed verified and registered with additional legal protections. Finally, he spoke with the circuit judge about expediting their marriage, making Emma legally his wife and therefore protected by his name and resources. "You fought him with paper instead of fists," Emma said, wonderingly that night. "Fists would have felt better," Cole admitted, "but they also would have played into his hands. Men like Martin want an excuse to claim we're the problem. This way, the law's on our side, and if he tries anything else," his jaw set, "then I'll show him what justice looks like outside a courtroom." But Martin wasn't finished. The night before their wedding, he struck. Emma woke to the smell of smoke and Cole shouting her name. She stumbled from her room to find the kitchen ablaze, flames licking up the walls from what looked like a deliberately set fire. Out the back, Cole was herding the ranch hands through the door, and his eyes went wide with relief when he saw her. "Emma, go!" "Not without you. Go slow. It hurts." Tommy was limping, his leg burned, and Emma grabbed his other side to help him. They just cleared the doorway when part of the roof collapsed where they'd been standing. Outside, Jack and Miguel were already organizing a bucket line from the well. But the fire had too much of a head start. The kitchen was lost, and flames were spreading toward the main structure. Emma watched, helpless, as the home she'd poured her heart into went up in smoke. "Martin did this," she said, numb. "He burned your house because I wouldn't sell. Then he's a dead man." Cole's voice was flat, emotionless in the way that preceded violence. "Jack, stay with Emma. Miguel, get Tommy to the dock. I'm going to town." "Cole, no." Emma grabbed his arm. "He'll kill you. He's got hired guns." "I'll die before I hurt you, but I'll kill before I let him." Cole cupped her soot-streaked face. "This ends tonight. I'm not letting him terrorize you for another second." "Then I'm coming with you." "The hell you are." "The hell I'm not." Emma met his glare with her own. "This is my fight as much as yours. Maybe more. I'm tired of running, tired of being afraid. We end this together or not at all." For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Then Cole nodded slowly. "Together. But you do exactly as I say when I say it. Understood?" "Understood." They rode through the night, arriving at the shabby hotel where Martin was staying just before dawn. Cole didn't knock. He kicked the door open with one boot, and Emma was right behind him, her hand on the pistol Cole had taught her to shoot. Martin was in bed with one of his hired guns standing guard. Both men went for their weapons, but Cole was faster. His shot took the guard in the shoulder, sending him crashing to the floor. Emma kept her gun trained on Martin, her hands steady despite her racing heart. "You burned my house," Cole said conversationally as if discussing the weather. "Threatened my woman. Tried to destroy everything we're building. I could kill you right now, and no jury in the territory would convict me. Martin's face went pale. You've got no proof. I don't need proof. I've got testimony from 3 witnesses who saw your man skulking around my property tonight. I've got the sheriff already looking for you based on Emma's complaint. And I've got a town full of people who are tired of your threats and schemes. Cole advanced, and Martin pressed back against the headboard. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign a legal document relinquishing any claim to Emma's property. You're going to leave this town and never come back. And if I ever hear your name again in connection with my wife, I will hunt you down and finish what I started here. Are we clear? She's not your wife yet, Martin spat. Still time for her to come to her senses, and Emma's shot took off his hat, leaving a smoking hole in the wall behind him. Both men stared at her. Speak about me like I'm property again, she said quietly, and the next one goes through your worthless heart. I'm not a prize to be claimed or a problem to be solved. I'm a woman making her own choices, and I choose Cole. Sign the damn paper. Martin signed. They left him there, shaking, and rode back to the ranch as the sun rose over the mountains. Emma had never felt so powerful, so free, so absolutely certain of her path. The wedding happened 2 days later in the burned-out shell of the kitchen because Emma insisted. We're building something new from ashes, she said. This feels right. Cole wore a new shirt, his hair slicked back, and when he took her hands in his, Emma saw tears in his eyes. I, Cole Brennan, take you, Emma Hayes, to be my lawfully wedded wife. I promise to honor you, protect you, stand beside you through every storm life throws our way. I promise to see you, not as property, not as help, but as my equal, my partner, my heart. From this day forward, together. Emma's voice was steady. I, Emma Hayes, take you, Cole Brennan, to be my lawfully wedded husband. I promise to love you even when it's scary, to build a life with you from broken pieces, to never let you forget you're worth loving. From this day forward, together. Together, they said in unison, and when they kissed, the handful of witnesses cheered. The circuit preacher smiled. I now pronounce you husband and wife. May you rebuild everything stronger than before. 3 months later, Emma stood in the newly completed kitchen, larger and brighter than the original, watching snowflakes drift past the window. Her hand rested on the slight swell of her belly, and she smiled at the secret she'd share with Cole over supper. The ranch hands were in the bunkhouse, smoke curling from its chimney. Her homestead had been sold, on her terms, for a fair price, and the money invested in expanding Cole's operation. Their operation now. She was learning to manage the books, make decisions, be a true partner in every sense. Cole came in from the barn, stamping snow from his boots, and stopped when he saw her expression. What is it? Come here. Emma took his hand and placed it over her stomach. We're pregnant. About 3 months along, the doctor says. Cole went absolutely still. Then his knees buckled, and he sank into a chair, pulling her onto his lap as tears streamed down his weathered face. A baby. Emma, we're having a baby. Are you happy? She asked, though his expression told her everything. I'm terrified, Cole admitted, and happier than I have any right to be. Sarah, he stopped, swallowed. I think she'd be glad that I found you, that we're building this. I think Thomas would be too. Emma kissed him softly. Not everyone gets a second chance at love. We're the lucky ones. The luckiest. Cole held her close, his hand protective over the life growing inside her. Together. Together, Emma agreed, watching the snow fall on their land. Their home, their future. A baby, a daughter they named Hope, was born the following spring. Emma learned that love didn't diminish by being divided, it multiplied. Cole was a devoted father, terrified and tender in equal measure, singing off-key lullabies and building furniture with his own hands. On Hope's first birthday, Emma found Cole on the porch, staring at the sunset with their daughter asleep against his chest. She settled beside them, and he wrapped his free arm around her shoulders. "Remember the day we met?" Emma asked. "When I was on that roof, too stubborn to admit I needed help?" "You were fixing it tile by tile," Cole said softly, "and I was watching you, thinking how brave and foolish and strong you were. I was a widower, longing for a family, but too afraid to admit I wanted one again." Emma leaned into him. "Funny how we were both so broken, and somehow we fit together perfectly." "Not broken anymore," Cole kissed her temple. "Just scarred, stronger in the places we cracked." They sat in comfortable silence as stars emerged over the Montana landscape. A family built from loss, sealed with love, and proven through fire. Emma thought about the woman she'd been. Desperate, alone, convinced survival was the best she could hope for. And she was grateful to that woman for being brave enough to keep going, because it led her here. Home. Together. Hope was 3 years old when the second storm came, not of weather, but of circumstance. Emma was hanging laundry in the spring sunshine, watching Hope chase butterflies through the wildflowers, when she saw the dust cloud on the horizon. 3 riders, moving fast toward the ranch. Cole was in the north pasture with Miguel, too far to reach quickly. Jack and Tommy were in town for supplies. Emma's hand instinctively went to the rifle propped against the porch post. Cole had insisted she keep one close ever since Martin, and old habits died hard. The riders resolved into sharp focus as they approached. 2 men and a woman, all dressed in travel-worn clothes that spoke of long miles. The woman rode in the lead, sitting her horse with the confidence of someone born to the saddle. As she drew closer, Emma's breath caught. The woman's face was hauntingly familiar. The same creekwater eyes as Cole, the same determined set to her jaw. "Hello, the house," the woman called, reining in her paint mare 20 feet from the porch. "I'm looking for Cole Brennan. I'm told this is his ranch." "It is." Emma stepped forward, positioning herself between the strangers and Hope, who'd stopped playing to watch with wide, curious eyes. "And who might you be?" "His sister." The woman's smile was tentative, almost fragile. "Catherine Brennan. Kate. These are my companions, my husband Daniel and his brother James. We've been searching for Cole for almost 4 years." Emma's mind reeled. Cole had never mentioned a sister. In 3 years of marriage, through countless late-night conversations about his past, he'd spoken of his parents, long dead, and his wife Sarah, but never siblings. The omission felt suddenly enormous. "Mama?" Hope toddled over, clutching Emma's skirt. "Who the lady?" Kate's eyes went soft when she saw the child. Lord, she looks just like Sarah did at that age, the same dark curls. Her gaze lifted to Emma, questions swirling. "You're Cole's wife?" "Emma Brennan. This is our daughter, Hope." Emma kept her voice neutral, despite the confusion churning in her gut. "Cole's working the north pasture. He should be back by late afternoon." "We can wait." Kate dismounted with easy grace, and the 2 men followed suit. "I know this must seem strange. Cole and we had a falling out after Sarah died. Terrible things were said on both sides. I've regretted it every day since." Emma studied the woman, seeing the truth in her eyes, the same haunted pain that Cole carried, the weight of old wounds. "Come inside, I'll make coffee while we wait." The hours until Cole's return crawled by. Emma learned that Kate had married Daniel, a horse trader, against their father's wishes years ago. When Cole's father disinherited Kate, Cole had sided with their father, feeling betrayed by his sister's choice. The rift had widened until they stopped speaking entirely. Sarah's death had been the final break. Kate had sent word of condolence, but Cole had returned the letter unopened. "I was angry," Kate said quietly, cradling her coffee cup. "Cole always did what father wanted, followed every rule, and it still wasn't enough to save him from losing Sarah. I thought maybe losing her would make him understand why I chose love over duty. But it just made him harder, more closed off." "He's different now," Emma said. "Still carries the scars, but he's learned to live again, to be happy." Because of you. Kate's smile was genuine. I can see it in this house, in the flowers on the table, the child's toys. The way everything feels lived in and loved. You gave him back his life. The sound of horses drew everyone to the window. Cole was riding in with Miguel, laughing at something the older man said. Emma watched her husband's face. Relaxed, content, so different from the haunted man she'd met on that roof 3 years ago, and dreaded the moment it would shatter. Cole saw the strange horses tied to the porch and tensed immediately, his hand moving to his rifle. Then he saw Kate through the window, and Emma watched every emotion flash across his face: shock, anger, pain, longing, before settling into careful blankness. He dismounted slowly, handing his reins to Miguel with a quiet word. When he stepped onto the porch, his eyes found Emma first, checking that she and Hope were safe. Only then did he look at his sister. Kate. His voice was absolutely neutral. Cole. Kate stood, her hands trembling slightly. It's been a long time. 4 years, 3 months, and 16 days. The precision of his answer revealed how much he counted every one. What are you doing here? Looking for my brother. The one I was too proud and stubborn to make peace with before. Kate's voice cracked. Cole, I'm sorry. For everything I said. For not being there when Sarah died. For letting our father's bitterness poison us against each other. I'm so damn sorry. Cole's jaw worked, and Emma could see him warring with himself, the old pain fighting against the man he'd become. You told me I was a coward for following father's rules, that I'd trapped Sarah in a life she never wanted, that it was my fault she... He stopped, breathing hard. You can't unsay those things, Kate. I know. Tears streamed down Kate's face. I was wrong, cruel. I lashed out because I was hurt and scared, and I wanted you to hurt too. But Cole, I've spent 4 years looking for you to say this. You weren't responsible for Sarah's death. You loved her the best you knew how. And from what I can see, she gestured at the ranch, at Emma and Hope. You've built something beautiful from the ashes. I just want to be part of your life again. If you'll let me. The silence stretched so long, Emma thought Cole might refuse. Then Hope squirmed out of Emma's arms and toddled over to Cole, wrapping her small arms around his leg. Papa sad? Cole scooped her up, burying his face in her dark curls for a moment. When he looked up, his eyes were wet. Kate, this is Hope, my daughter. He moved to stand beside Emma, his free arm wrapping around her waist. And you've met my wife, Emma. She saved me when I didn't think I could be saved. She must be remarkable, Kate said softly. She is. Cole looked at Emma, and the love in his eyes made her heart ache. Then he turned back to Kate. You hurt me, deeper than I knew how to heal from. But Emma taught me something important. Holding on to pain doesn't honor the dead. It just keeps us from living. He took a breath. I can't forget what you said. But maybe, in time, I can forgive it. If you're willing to start over. Slowly. Kate nodded, wiping her eyes. Slowly is more than I deserve. Thank you, Cole. Over the following weeks, Kate and her family camped near the ranch, and the two siblings began the careful work of rebuilding their relationship. Emma watched Cole soften in increments, sharing stories of Hope's milestones, showing Kate the ranch improvements. Finally, one evening, talking about Sarah without flinching away from the pain. She would have liked you, Cole told Emma one night as they prepared for bed. Sarah, she was gentle, kind, a little fragile. Nothing like you. You're steel wrapped in softness, but she would have appreciated how you take care of me. How you don't let me hide from the world. I'm not replacing her, Emma said carefully. I know, you're not supposed to. Cole pulled her close. You're something entirely your own, my second chance. My proof that hearts can heal if you're brave enough to let them. Emma kissed him, deep and slow. Having Kate here, is it too much, too hard? Sometimes, Cole admitted, but it's also good. Reminds me that family is more than blood. It's choosing to keep showing up even when it's difficult. Kate's trying, so am I. That's enough for now. But peace, Emma had learned, was always temporary on the frontier. The trouble started, as it often did, with a stranger in town. Emma was at the general store with Hope when she overheard two ranchers talking in low, worried tones. "I'm telling you, Miller lost 15 head last week. Rustlers hit the Chapman place too. It's organized. They're taking the best stock and disappearing without a trace. Sheriff's useless. By the time he gets there, the trail's cold." Emma filed the information away and hurried home. Cole needed to know. The Triple B had some of the finest breeding stock in the territory, making them a prime target. She found him and Kate in the barn, examining a mare about to foal. "Rustlers?" Cole's expression went grim when she told him. "How organized?" "Very, from what I heard. They're hitting multiple ranches, taking only the best animals. The sheriff can't track them." "We should set watches," Kate suggested. "Daniel and James can help. Between the 6 of us and your hands, we can cover the property at night." Cole nodded slowly. "Emma, you and Hope stay in the house after dark. No exceptions." "Cole, please." His hand found hers. "I can't focus on protecting the herd if I'm worried about you two. Let me do this without that fear." Emma agreed, though she didn't like it. That night, the men split into watches while she sat in the parlor with Kate, both women armed and alert. Hope slept upstairs, innocent of the tension crackling through the house. "Does it ever get easier?" Kate asked quietly. "The fear that something will happen to them?" "No," Emma said honestly. "You just learn to function through it, to trust that they're capable and careful, to know that worrying won't keep them safe, but preparation might." Kate smiled wryly. "Daniel says the same thing. I spent our first year together convinced every time he left for a horse trading run, he wouldn't come back. Took me a long time to realize I was punishing both of us for a future that might never happen." "You sound like me 3 years ago." Emma poured them both more coffee. "I was so scared of loving Cole because I'd already lost Thomas. Thought maybe if I held back, it wouldn't hurt so much if something happened. Cole wouldn't let me hide, though. He just kept showing up, being steady, proving that love was worth the risk." "He's lucky to have you," Kate said. "I saw it the moment I arrived. The way he looks at you like you hung the moon. That's not something Cole gives easily." They sat in companionable silence until the sound of gunshots shattered the night. Both women were on their feet instantly, rifles in hand. Through the window, Emma could see muzzle flashes near the barn, multiple shooters, chaos in the darkness. "Stay with Hope," Emma told Kate. "If anyone comes through that door who isn't one of ours, shoot first and ask questions never." "Where are you going?" "To help." Miguel was nowhere visible, which worried her. Emma circled wide, using the darkness and her knowledge of the ranch to get into position behind the rustlers. She counted 5 men still standing, one already down and groaning. As she watched, one rustler drew a bead on Cole's position, his rifle steady and aimed to kill. Emma didn't hesitate. Her shot took the rustler in the shoulder, spinning him around and sending his rifle flying. The rustlers whirled, trying to locate this new threat, which gave Cole and the others the opening they needed. Within seconds, the fight was over. 3 rustlers down, 2 fleeing into the darkness on foot, their horses scattered. "Emma!" Cole was at her side in seconds, hands checking her for injuries. "What the hell were you thinking coming out here? That you needed help?" She lowered her rifle, adrenaline making her shake now that the danger had passed. "That rustler had a clean shot at you, Cole. I wasn't going to watch you die because I was safe in the house." Cole pulled her against his chest, his heart hammering. "You could have been killed. So could you." Emma looked up at him. "We're partners, remember? I'm not going to hide while you fight our battles alone." "Stubborn woman," Cole muttered, but there was pride in his voice. "Incredible, terrifying. Stubborn woman. Stubborn man," Emma replied, their familiar exchange grounding them both. Miguel emerged from the shadows then, dragging a man by his collar. Found their lookout, had him tied up in the feed shed, figured you'd want to ask him some questions. The lookout was young, barely 20, and terrified. Under Cole's questioning, he spilled everything. The rustling ring was run by a man named Carson Hayes, who'd been recruiting men to hit ranches across 3 territories. The name made Emma's blood run cold. "Carson Hayes?" she asked. "Any relation to Martin Hayes?" The kid nodded miserably. "His cousin. Martin sent word about your ranch before he left the territory. Told Carson about the breeding stock. Said there were scores to settle. Carson figured he'd make money and get revenge all at once." Cole's expression went deadly. "Where is Carson now?" "Has a camp about 10 miles north in the canyon by Widow's Creek. But mister, you don't want to go there alone. He's got at least 15 men, all of them mean as rattlesnakes." "Then we get the sheriff and a proper posse," Daniel said. "This is bigger than one ranch. If Carson's hitting multiple properties, every rancher in the area will want in on taking him down." It took 2 days to organize, but when they rode out, it was with 20 armed men, ranchers who'd lost stock, their most trusted hands, and a sheriff finally willing to take action. Cole insisted Emma stay behind, and for once, she agreed. Hope needed her mother. And Kate needed help defending the ranch if this was a diversion. The men returned 36 hours later, exhausted but victorious. Carson and his gang were in custody, the stolen stock being returned to their rightful owners. Cole had a bullet graze on his arm and bruises suggesting he'd been in close combat, but he was alive and whole. Emma cleaned his wounds while he told the story. The surprise attack on the canyon camp, the brief but brutal fight, Carson's attempt to flee that ended with Daniel roping him off his horse like a runaway steer. Through it all, Cole's hand kept finding hers, anchoring himself to her presence. "It's over," he said finally. "Carson will hang for murder. One of his men killed a ranch hand during a robbery last month. Martin's name came up during the interrogation. The law's looking for him now too. They can't hurt us anymore, Emma. Any of them." Emma kissed his scraped knuckles. "We keep surviving, don't we? Every storm, every threat. We just keep building something stronger. Because of you." Cole pulled her into his lap, mindful of his injuries. "You're my compass, Emma. When the world gets dark and ugly, you remind me why we fight, why we keep going." "We do that for each other," Emma corrected. "You saved me first, remember? From that roof, from loneliness, from giving up. We take turns being strong." Hope toddled in then, climbing onto the chair to join their embrace. "Papa home. No more ouchies?" "No more ouchies," Cole promised. "Just family. Just home." Kate appeared in the doorway, Daniel beside her. "We'll be heading out tomorrow," she said. "Got word that Daniel's brother needs help with a difficult mare, and we've imposed on your hospitality long enough." "You're always welcome here," Cole said, and meant it. "Both of you, all of you. Your family, Kate. Real family." Kate's eyes welled up. "After everything I said, everything I did." "We're choosing to keep showing up," Cole interrupted gently. "Isn't that what you told me? That's what family does. So come back. Visit, let Hope know her aunt and uncle. Let's build something new." "Together," Kate said softly. "Together," Cole and Emma echoed. The next morning, they stood on the porch watching Kate, Daniel, and James ride out, promising to return for Hope's birthday in the fall. Emma leaned into Cole's side, feeling the peace that came from old wounds finally beginning to heal. "You did a good thing," she told him, letting her back in, choosing forgiveness. "You taught me how." Cole kissed the top of her head. "You taught me that the past doesn't have to define the future, that broken things can be mended if you're willing to do the work." Emma turned in his arms, seeing the man she'd fallen in love with, scarred, strong, capable of such deep love it took her breath away. "I love you, Cole Brennan, every stubborn, protective, impossibly good part of you. I love you, Emma Brennan, my roof-fixing, rustler-shooting, heart-healing miracle." They kissed as the sun climbed higher, Hope playing at their feet, the ranch spreading green and gold around them. It had been a long journey from that desperate day on the roof to this moment of hard-won peace. But every struggle, every battle, every moment of fear had been worth it for this, a family forged in fire, sealed with love and built to last. Hope was 6 when Emma realized she was pregnant again. This time, the revelation came not with tears of joy, but with quiet, fierce gratitude. She and Cole had built something unshakable, a ranch that thrived, a daughter who rode like she was born in the saddle, and a love that had weathered every storm the frontier threw at them. Cole's reaction was more emotional than the first time. He simply held Emma and cried, his face buried in her hair, whispering thank yous like prayers. At 39, he'd thought his family was complete. This unexpected blessing felt like life's way of saying they'd done something right. But pregnancy at 32 was harder than it had been at 28. Emma tired more easily, and by her 6th month, she could barely manage the stairs without help. Cole hovered like an anxious shadow, driving her to equal parts exasperation and tenderness. "I'm pregnant, not dying," she told him one afternoon when he'd carried her bodily away from the laundry tub. "You were lifting wet sheets. The doctor said no heavy lifting." "The doctor says a lot of things. I managed fine with Hope. You were younger then." Cole's hand settled protectively on her swollen belly. "And I was stupider about letting you do too much, not making that mistake twice." Emma softened at the worry in his eyes. "I know you're scared, but I'm strong, Cole. We're both strong. This baby and me, we're going to be fine." "Promise me," Cole said roughly. "Promise you'll tell me if something feels wrong." "I can't." His voice broke. "I can't lose you, Emma. You and Hope and this baby are everything." She pulled his hand to her lips, kissing his scarred knuckles. "I promise, no more being stubborn about asking for help." The baby, another girl they named Grace, arrived 3 weeks early on a brutally cold January night. The labor was hard and fast, catching everyone off guard. The midwife barely made it in time, and for several terrifying hours, Emma walked the razor's edge between life and death as complications multiplied. Cole refused to leave her side despite the midwife's protests about men in the birthing room. He held Emma's hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement through every scream. And when the baby finally came, tiny, not breathing, terrifyingly still, he was the one who thought to turn her upside down and clear her airway while the midwife worked on stopping Emma's bleeding. Grace's first cry was the most beautiful sound Emma had ever heard. Cole placed the screaming, perfect infant on Emma's chest, and they both wept with relief and exhaustion and overwhelming love. "You did it," Cole whispered. "Jesus, Emma, you're incredible." "We did it," Emma corrected through her tears. "Together." But the joy was shadowed. The midwife was blunt as she cleaned and packed up her supplies. "Mrs. Brennan, you came very close to dying tonight. Closer than you know. Another baby would almost certainly kill you. You need to understand that." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Emma looked at Cole and saw her own fear reflected back, the knowledge that they'd reached the limit of what her body could survive. There would be no more children. Grace was their last gift, their final miracle. "Then we'll be grateful for what we have," Cole said firmly. "2 healthy daughters and a wife I plan on keeping around for 50 more years. That's more than most men ever get." Emma nodded, but privately she grieved. Not for more children. Hope and Grace were more than enough. But for the loss of choice, for the reminder that bodies broke and life was fragile and happy endings were never guaranteed. The months after Grace's birth were harder than Emma expected. Her body healed slowly, leaving her weaker than she'd ever been. Depression crept in, a dark, suffocating thing that made her feel disconnected from her own life. She loved her daughters fiercely, loved Cole beyond measure, but couldn't shake the feeling that she'd failed somehow. That she should be stronger, happier, more grateful. Cole noticed, of course. He always did. One evening, after the girls were asleep, he found Emma sitting on the porch, staring at nothing. "Talk to me," he said quietly, settling beside her. "Tell me what's going on in that beautiful, complicated head of yours." Emma was silent for a long moment. Then, in a rush, "I feel broken, like I'm not the woman you married anymore. I can't do everything I used to do. I'm tired all the time, and I look at our daughters and feel guilty that I can't give you more, that my body failed us." "Stop." Cole's voice was gentle but firm. He took her face in his hands, forcing her to meet his eyes. "Your body didn't fail anyone. Your body gave me 2 perfect daughters and nearly died doing it. You're not broken, Emma. You're a warrior who's been through battle." Emma sobbed against Cole's chest while he held her, rocking gently, murmuring reassurances that slowly began to sink in. She wasn't broken. She was recovering, and she didn't have to do it alone. Over the following months, Emma slowly found her footing again. She learned to ask for help, to accept her limitations without shame, to find joy in smaller victories. Hope, now 7, became her shadow, learning to cook and care for Grace, while Emma regained her strength. Cole hired a woman from town to help with heavy chores, ignoring Emma's protests about the expense. "Worth every penny to see you smile again," he told her. "Besides, business is good. We can afford to make life easier." He was right about business. The Triple B had become one of the most successful ranches in the territory, known for quality stock and fair dealing. Cole had even started taking on apprentices, young men looking to learn the trade, which brought in additional income and ensured they had help during busy seasons. By the time Grace was walking, Emma felt like herself again. Different, yes, older, more cautious, carrying new scars alongside the old, but fundamentally still Emma, still strong, still fighting, still building the life she'd chosen one day at a time. One evening, she and Cole stood on the porch, watching Hope teaching Grace to dance in the yard, both girls giggling as they spun in circles. The sun was setting gold and orange over the mountains, painting their world in light and shadow. "We did good," Cole said quietly. "We did," Emma agreed. "It wasn't easy. Sometimes it was ugly and scary and more than I thought we could handle. But we did it. We built something real." Cole pulled her close, his chin resting on her head. "You know what I think about sometimes? That day I saw you on that roof. You were so determined, so fierce, fixing it tile by tile, even though you were exhausted and alone and probably terrified. I was a widower longing for a family, watching you and thinking, there's a woman who doesn't quit. A woman worth knowing." "Cole, I was thinking you were going to judge me for being a terrible roofer," Emma admitted with a laugh. "I was judging you for being incredibly brave and beautiful and exactly what I needed, even though I didn't know I needed anything." Cole turned her in his arms. "You saved me, Emma, from loneliness, from bitterness, from a half-life that wasn't really living. You gave me everything. You gave me everything right back." Emma kissed him softly. "A home, a family, proof that second chances are real if you're brave enough to take them." They stood together as the stars emerged, 2 people who'd lost everything and found each other in the wreckage. Their daughter's laughter filled the air. The ranch settled into evening peace, and Emma felt a contentment so deep it bordered on sacred. This was enough. This was everything. This was the life she'd fought for, tile by tile, day by day, storm by storm, and it was beautiful. The years flowed like the creek that bordered their property, sometimes gentle, sometimes raging, always moving forward. Hope grew into a young woman who could outride most of the ranch hands and had Cole's steady determination combined with Emma's fierce independence. Grace was all fire and spirit, asking endless questions and declaring at age 5 that she would be a doctor who rode horses, which made both her parents laugh and secretly hope she'd do exactly that. Emma was 38 when the telegram arrived. She was in the kitchen making preserves, with Grace helping. When Hope brought it in, her young face worried. Mama, a telegram. It's addressed to both you and Papa. Emma's hands stilled. Telegrams meant news, and news was rarely good. She wiped her hands and opened it, her heart sinking as she read the brief message. Cole's sister Kate, stop. Injured in riding accident, stop. Asking for family, stop. Come soon, stop. Cole was working on the barn roof, something he'd forbidden Emma to do ever since that first day they met, taking the task on himself with almost superstitious dedication. Emma stepped outside and called up to him, and one look at her face had him descending the ladder in seconds. Kate, Emma said, handing him the telegram. She's hurt. They're in Colorado, about 4 days' ride. Cole read the message, his jaw tightening. In the 7 years since Kate had first reappeared, they'd built a real relationship. Regular visits, letters, Kate and Daniel serving as Hope and Grace's unofficial aunt and uncle. The thought of losing her now, after they'd finally healed their rift, was unbearable. I need to go, Cole said. We need to go, Emma corrected. The girls too. Kate's family. We all go. Cole started to argue, then stopped, seeing the determination in Emma's eyes. Together? Always together. They left the next morning, leaving Jack in charge of the ranch with detailed instructions. The journey was hard. Grace was too young for such long days in the saddle, so they traveled by wagon, which was slower but more comfortable. Hope rode her mare alongside, already showing the skill and endurance that would serve her well in life. They reached the small Colorado town where Kate and Daniel had settled 4 days later. The local doctor met them at the door, his expression grave. Mrs. Brennan fell from a horse 3 days ago. Broke her back. We've done what we can, but... He trailed off meaningfully. She's asking for her brother. You came just in time. Cole's face went white. Emma gripped his hand hard, lending him strength as they entered the small house where Kate lay in bed, so pale and still that for a moment Emma thought they were too late. But Kate's eyes opened when Cole spoke her name, and a weak smile curved her lips. You came, Kate whispered. I was afraid you wouldn't get here in time. Of course I came. Cole knelt beside the bed, taking his sister's hand carefully. You're going to be fine, Kate. The doctor just needs to... Don't. Kate's voice was soft but firm. We both know I'm dying, Cole. My back is broken. I can't feel my legs. The doctor says infection is already setting in. I have days at most. Tears slipped down her temples. I'm not angry about it. I've had a good life. A husband who loved me. Adventures. And these last 7 years, I got my brother back. That's more than I deserved. Don't say that. Cole's voice broke. You deserve everything, Kate. I wasted so many years being angry and proud. I can't lose you now. Not when we finally found our way back to each other. You're not losing me. Kate's gaze found Emma, standing behind Cole with the girls. He has you, and those beautiful daughters. That's not losing, Cole. That's winning. You built something incredible from the ashes of your grief. I'm so proud of you. Daniel entered then, his eyes red from crying. She wants to talk to you alone, he told Cole. If that's all right. Emma ushered the girls outside, giving the siblings privacy. Through the window, she watched Cole and Kate talk, both of them crying, years of love and regret and forgiveness flowing between them. When Cole finally emerged an hour later, his face was ravaged, but somehow peaceful. She wanted me to know she forgives me, he said quietly, for taking Father's side, for shutting her out after Sarah died. She said some wounds need time to heal, and she's grateful we had these last years. She also made me promise. His voice caught. Made me promise to keep living fully, to not let her death send me back to that dark place, to remember that love is always worth the risk of loss. Kate died 2 days later, with Daniel holding one hand and Cole the other, Emma and the girls keeping vigil nearby. Her last words were a whisper. Keep showing up for each other. That's all family needs to do. The funeral was small but heartfelt. They buried Kate in the Colorado earth she'd loved, under an aspen tree that would turn gold every autumn. Cole spoke the eulogy, his voice steady despite the tears. My sister taught me that family is worth fighting for, that pride and anger are prisons we build for ourselves. Then it's never too late to choose love over bitterness. I wasted years being angry with her, and I'll regret that until my last breath. But I'm grateful, so grateful, for the time we had to make things right. Kate, you deserved better from me. I hope I finally gave it to you. They stayed in Colorado for a week, helping Daniel settle affairs and pack up the house. He planned to return to horse trading, traveling the territories the way he and Kate had done before they'd settled. Can't stay here, he said quietly. Every corner reminds me she's gone. But I'll visit you folks. Kate would want that. On the journey home, Hope asked the question Emma had been dreading. Mama, are you going to die? Is Papa? Emma pulled her daughter close. Everyone dies eventually, sweetheart. That's part of life. But your Papa and I plan on being around for a very long time. Long enough to see you grown, to meet your children, to be pests in our old age. How do you not be scared? Hope's voice was small, vulnerable. Aunt Kate died, and Uncle Daniel is so sad. What if that happens to us? Cole answered, his voice rough, but sure. You love anyway, because the years of happiness are worth the pain of loss. Your Aunt Kate and I had 7 good years after a long time apart. I'd choose those 7 years even knowing how they'd end, because they mattered. Love always matters more than fear. But it hurts, Grace said. At 7, she understood death better than Emma wished. It does, Emma agreed. It hurts terribly. But you know what hurts more? Never loving at all, living small and scared. Your Papa and I decided a long time ago that we'd rather live big and risk getting hurt than protect ourselves and miss out on everything beautiful. Hope considered this, then nodded slowly. Like how you climbed on that roof even though you were scared, and Papa offered to help even though he'd lost Aunt Sarah? Exactly like that, Cole said, meeting Emma's eyes over their daughters' heads. We kept showing up. We kept choosing each other. That's all anyone can do. They returned to the Triple B to find everything running smoothly under Jack's management. The ranch welcomed them back like an old friend, familiar, solid, home. That night, after the girls were asleep, Emma and Cole sat on their porch, the place where they'd had so many important conversations over the years. I'm tired, Cole admitted. Not body tired, soul tired. Kate's death reminded me that time is finite, that we don't get forever, no matter how much we wish otherwise. What are you saying? Ah, Emma asked, though she thought she knew. I want to slow down. Hire a manager to run the day-to-day operations. Spend more time with you and the girls. Travel a little. See the country Kate and Daniel loved so much. I've spent 15 years building this ranch into something successful. I don't want to spend the next 15 years so focused on work that I miss my daughters growing up, that I miss moments with you. Emma's throat tightened with love. I think that sounds perfect. We've earned the right to slow down, to enjoy what we've built. You're not disappointed? I know you love the ranch. I love you more. Emma took his hand. The ranch is wonderful, but it's not why I'm here. You are. Our family is. If slowing down means we have more time together, then that's what we should do. Cole pulled her close, and they sat in the darkness, listening to the sounds of their land settling in for the night. Emma thought about that desperate woman on the roof 9 years ago, fixing tiles with bleeding hands because she had no other choice. That woman couldn't have imagined this. A husband who cherished her, daughters who thrived, a life so full it sometimes took her breath away. Do you ever think about that day? Cole asked, as if reading her mind. When we met? All the time, Emma admitted. You were watching me struggle, And instead of judging me, you saw someone worth helping, worth knowing. That changed everything. You were fixing your roof tile by tile, Cole said softly. And I was a widower longing for a family, too scared to admit I wanted one. We were both so broken, Emma, but somehow we fit together. Not broken anymore, Emma said firmly. Scarred, yes. Changed, absolutely. But not broken. We healed each other. We're still healing each other. Until the day I die, Cole promised. However many years that is, I'm choosing you, every single day. And I'm choosing you. Emma kissed him, soft and sure. Together. Together, Cole echoed. They stayed on that porch until the stars wheeled overhead and the moon set behind the mountains. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something unbreakable from the broken pieces. Their story wasn't perfect. It was scarred by loss, marked by struggle, and shaped by pain. But it was real. And it was theirs. And that, Emma thought as she finally rose to go inside with her husband's hand warm in hers, was more than enough. It was everything. Thank you so much for listening to this story. I'd love to know where you're enjoying this tale from. Are you listening at home, during your commute, or perhaps while working? Please subscribe to the From Wild West channel and share your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think of Emma and Cole's journey? Your feedback means the world to us.